Superman has finally broken free of Brainiac's torture and escaped, but it's only a matter of time before Lazarus finds him again. Inside the Smallville Senior Living Building, Martha Kent pulls herself out of bed and rushes to the window. "Nurse! Nurse! Please hurry! Did you see that storm that blew past? It was as red as it could be, wasn't it? That means he's back!" she calls. The nurse rushes into the room at the sound of Martha's excitement. Martha turns away from the window with a smile on her face, explaining that she needs to get ready for his return. But the clarity leaves just as suddenly as it arrived. "Miss Kent, what is it you need?" the nurse asks. The smile slowly falters from her face, replaced by a confused look. "What did I need for what?" she asks. The nurse tells her that she only came in because she was yelling for something. "Was I?" Martha says as she turns back to the window. Did you see that storm that blew past? It looked almost red, didn't it? Now what was it you said you needed again?" she whispers, as the thoughts leave her mind blank once more. Memories and clarity fading. Meanwhile, the red dust storm stops in a field outside of town, depositing Lois and Jimmy into the grass. "What do we do?" Lois whispers as she watches the red dust swirl around Superman, encasing him and closing him off from the world. "What can we do?" Jimmy asks. Kal-El rages within the storm, but Sol is doing what he has always done. He is saving his young charge. 5 years earlier, Kal sat on the lip of a volcano, staring down at the swirling lava below him. "I won't do it," he snaps at Sol, who argues that Kal needs interaction with people, that Kryptonians, like humans, weren't designed to live in isolation. But Kal shakes his head. "I'm not going anywhere near those Earth people again. There's nothing I need out there. I don't have to eat, barely sleep, don't need a roof over my head. I'll be just fine in the places where they're not," he says. Sol is quiet for a moment. "I know you are hurting from what happened with the Kents," he finally says. Kal hangs his head in sadness. "I don't want to talk about that," he finally whispers. But Sol reminds him once again that he was not made to live alone. "I am an artificial intelligence designed by your mother. I am no substitute for true companionship," Sol reminds him, pointing out that isolation threatens to untether him from the people of his new world. Finally, Kal submits to Sol's suggestions. The AI pauses for another moment. "First things first. My sensors indicate that your personal aroma has become quite pungent in recent weeks," Sol points out. "Oh, for the love of... a bath? I hate this already," Kal sighs as he stands up and leaps into the lava. Weeks pass and Kal begins to travel. Sol suggests that with Kal's abilities and intelligence, that he could assimilate himself into the upper echelons of Earth societies. But Kal refuses. His parents were people of the Earth, farmers and mechanics. That is where he wishes to live. So he travels to the Philippines, works on the sugarcane farms beneath the sun. One day, he lifts a large bundle over his head and places it on the back of a truck. "You should drink more water," an older woman says, smiling at him. "Sorry, it's the mother in me. You carry more sugarcane than anyone. Without resting in the shade, without stopping for a drink, Lazarus will gladly work you to death if you let them. And the sun is happy to oblige," she tells him. Kal looks back at her. "Not thirsty, and the sun feels good to me," he says softly. The woman holds out her hand and introduces herself. Kal reaches for her, but his skin burns her on contact. She screams in pain and pulls away, her hand smoking from the touch. "Your hand! It burns like the sun! In heaven's name, what are you?" she gasps as the others begin to gather around them. Peacemakers quickly arrive, raising their weapons at them. One of the peacemakers strikes the woman for stopping her work. Kal reaches out for the man's arm, "Stop it! Can't you see she's hurt?" he shouts. He pulls too hard and rips the Peacemaker's arm off. "Oh, Rao, I didn't mean," Cal starts to say as the Peacemaker screams in pain. Others arrive and raise their weapons, but Cal suddenly disappears in a blur of red dust. Moments later, Sol deposits him on the peak of the Gunkar Punzum. "I didn't mean to do that," Cal whispers as he falls to his knees. "Of course you didn't, Cal," Sol says, pointing out that the young man's strength has been augmented by the yellow sun. "Every day that you are here, you absorb the energy of Earth's yellow sun. You must learn to be careful around humans," Sol tells him. But anger suddenly flashes through Cal as he thinks of the horrible things that the Peacemakers do in the name of Lazarus. How maybe what he did was right, and maybe he should slaughter them all, like his father once slaughtered the animals in the crystal caves of Krypton. Sol is quiet for a moment. The red dust begins to swirl before Cal and suddenly takes on the images of his parents. Humans may be primitive, with a shocking capacity for cruelty towards one another, but they are not animals. If Jor-El and Lara were here, they would tell you, just as they once stood up and told the Science League, that you do not have the right to judge and execute people, simply because you can, Sol says softly. "They're not here though, are they? They're dead!" Cal yells as the anger begins to take over. "You don't know what you're talking about, Sol! You're not even real!" Cal drops to his knees in exhaustion. "You are correct. I was made to protect you and remind you who you are. This I will continue to do, Kal-El," Sol says softly. Cal slumps. The anger left him as quickly as it came. "Sol, I think I'd like some time alone," he whispers. Sol begins to swirl around Cal, creating a crystal barrier, a small fortress of solitude. "Of course, Cal. These have been traumatic times for you. Tomorrow, we will talk again," Sol says. Kansas, now. Cal has taken a respite within his crystal fortress, but he suddenly punches through, and the crystals fade away, the dust swirling around Cal once more. "Cal, are you well?" Sol asks. Cal thinks back on everything that Brainiac did to him, how he almost broke him. "No," he whispers before flying up into the air. Meanwhile, in town, Lois and Jimmy are trying to buy breakfast at the local diner. The waitress behind the counter stares at them for a moment, explaining that everyone remembers them from when they first arrived with Superman. "We know what you did," the waitress whispers. Lois glances over her shoulder and notices the entire diner staring at them. "Look, we don't want any trouble," Lois says softly. But the waitress looks at them and motions to the chairs, telling them to sit down. "If you were still with Lazarus, Miss Lane, or if I believed anything they said on the news, I'd be showing you to the door myself with my 12 gauge between your ribs," she says as she pours them cups of coffee. "I know you tried to help him when he needed it most. So, for friends of Superman, breakfast is on me," she says with a smile as she puts plates of food before them. Lois glances back and sees the diners smiling, some offering to buy them lunch and dinner. Lois lets out a sigh of relief. She turns back to the waitress. "Thank you, Miss Lang," the waitress tells her, "but you can call me Lana." She shakes her hand and points out that Lazarus might not be done with their town, and that she should keep that shotgun handy. "Oh, it always is," Lana promises as she pats the weapon beneath the counter. Meanwhile, Cal lands softly outside the Kent farm. "I'm sorry, Cal. I failed to protect you," Sol tells him softly. But Cal shakes his head, pointing out that Sol has been with him from the very beginning of his journey, that he has always protected him every step of the way, aided him. "For the first time in 6 years, I can say this with certainty. You're wrong. I was never alone. Thanks to you, Sol. Cal says, apologizing for every mean thing that he had ever said to his AI companion. You're more than just a rocket ship, or a collection of advanced crystals, and the world's most badass cape. You're family. You're as much an L as I am, Cal says as he reaches out for the swirling dust. Sol L, my big brother from Krypton. Thank you, brother, for everything, Cal says softly. Sol is quiet for a long moment. Cal, you are most generous, Sol finally says. But Cal turns around at the sound of approaching footsteps. Lois and Jimmy walk towards him, holding up bags of food. We brought breakfast, and lunch, and dinner, Jimmy cheers. But Cal shakes his head. No thank you, I don't really eat, Cal explains. Jimmy stares at him in shock. Did you say you don't eat? That's the saddest thing I've ever heard, he whispers. Cal holds out a hand to Lois, offering his condolences for the loss of her father. Yeah, at least he died doing what he loved, yelling, shooting at bad guys, and telling me what to do, she says softly. I'm glad you're feeling better, Superman. But Cal interrupts her. Cal, my name is Kal-El. Kal-El of Krypton, he says as he formally introduces himself to her for the first time. Lois shakes his hand. Pleased to meet you, Cal. You can call me Lois, she says. She explains that they should get moving. Try to stay one step ahead of Lazarus and Ra's al Ghul. Do you have a safe place somewhere, Cal? She asks. Cal nods as the dust swirls around him. I do. It's right here on my back. His name is Sol, Cal tells them. No way! Hi, Sol. I'm Jimmy. I've never met a cape before, Jimmy says softly. But Cal shakes his head and explains that they can't leave. Ra's is already here, he says as he turns his glowing eyes to the horizon, where an attack chopper buzzes low over the fields of Kansas. On board, Ra's turns to his daughter and orders her to raze Smallville to the ground, to torture its people until their screams force Superman to face them. Once Superman is adequately enraged, I will handle his baptism personally. By the hands of Ra's al Ghul, he will be redeemed. And someday, the history books will record that the world was saved right here in the worthless hinterlands of Kansas, Ra's says as he looks out the window at the army of Lazarus that follows them. And that was the complete story for Absolute Superman, issue 12 by Jason Aaron. A war is about to begin in Smallville. Will Superman be able to prevent Lazarus from causing irreparable damage? We'll just have to wait and see. So be sure to like the video and subscribe for notifications of new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.